So, Tomi, what led to that bashing on The View?
Well, there is a woman over the weekend who took it upon herself to research my family history in hopes of digging up some kind of a gotcha moment, a gotcha angle to validate illegal immigration and open borders. And what she found was really shocking, guys. She found that my family who came here in the 1800s from Norway and Germany, that they spoke Norwegian and German.
Okay.
And really what she did is prove that my family came here legally, but what she was hoping to do was try to call me a hypocrite for believing in merit-based immigration.
Every live television producer knows there's one kind of silence that signals something unexpected has just happened. It's not the silence after a joke falls flat or a heated argument erupts. It's the split second when everyone in the studio realizes the conversation has suddenly taken a turn no one anticipated. That was the atmosphere during a recent episode of The View. One host appeared certain she had uncovered the argument that would end the debate, armed with what was presented as revealing information about her guest's family history. She delivered it with complete confidence, expecting it to be the decisive moment. But instead of reacting defensively, the guest remained calm and composed. In an instant, what had started as another political discussion transformed into the kind of television exchange that quickly spread across social media.
That immigrants come over here and they don't know anything and they're dragging us down because we all come from immigrants, including you, Tomi Lahren.
She talks about low skills. What exactly are her skills?
Her second great-grandmother had been here for 10 years, yet spoke no English. Oh my gosh. 1930 census says Tomi's 3 times great-grandmother had been here for 41 years and still spoke German. She didn't speak English either. She doesn't even know her own history. She certainly doesn't know this country.
At first, the segment seemed destined to follow the show's familiar pattern. The discussion centered on immigration, covering border security, legal immigration, and asylum policy, with both sides firmly defending their positions. Nothing stood out as especially unusual, and the conversation moved at a steady pace. Then, the tone shifted. One host leaned in, clearly believing she was about to introduce the argument that would completely reshape the debate. It was a subtle change, but enough to signal that the conversation was about to move in an unexpected direction.
With DNA, 23andMe, because I cannot believe the detail on your background that they were able to get.
Well, I don't have to. She did all the research for me, so I'm sure my family is very appreciative.
What about Joy saying, though, what are your skills? It's beyond research. It is personal. It is mean.
Well, of course, this is classical Joy Behar, but I would like to ask Joy Behar what her skills are, because perhaps we could swap stories. I know I watch Joy, and she seems like a highly skilled lady, but for her to attack me, that's really interesting. Those in glass houses should not...
The discussion took a dramatic turn when Sunny Hostin shifted away from present-day immigration policy and focused on Tomi Lahren's Norwegian ancestry. She referenced reports that Lahren's relatives arrived in the United States generations ago without speaking English, presenting the information as a key challenge to Lahren's position. The audience reacted with audible surprise, and for a brief moment it appeared the point had changed the momentum of the exchange. But as the conversation continued, it became clear that the ancestry argument had opened the door to a response Sunny seemingly hadn't anticipated.
What is it about you that bothers him so much?
Well, it's not just me, it's anybody who advocates for merit-based immigration or has an issue with open borders. And again, just like you said, they don't seem to understand that we on the right believe in immigration. We understand that we are a nation of immigrants, and I am proud of my heritage. However, I do believe that the immigration crisis of today is apples to oranges from what it was in the 1800s when immigrants came to this country legally, were documented, worked for themselves, asked for nothing, and built a life and a family. That has nothing to do with the illegal immigration crisis of today that we must deal with. But they don't want to acknowledge.
Rather than disputing her family's history, Tomi Lahren acknowledged it immediately. She agreed that her ancestors immigrated from Europe and that English was not their first language. Then, she shifted the focus to her central argument, saying her family entered the country through the legal immigration process that existed at the time and built their lives within that system. Whether viewers agreed with her conclusion or not, the response completely changed the direction of the debate. The point intended to challenge her position instead became the foundation of her rebuttal, allowing her to regain control of the conversation at a pivotal moment.
Folks, I have heard a lot of dumb crap come out of blue states, but this one is a real doozy. Get this. As of January 1st, New Jersey teachers will no longer be required to pass a basic literacy test.
The moment Tomi Lahren finished her response, the mood inside the studio shifted in a way that was impossible to miss. Panelists began talking over one another. Audience reactions became noticeably more mixed, and the confidence that had filled the room just moments earlier seemed to fade. Sunny Hostin continued defending her position, but by then, much of the attention had moved away from immigration policy itself and toward the unfolding exchange. Within minutes, clips from the segment began circulating across social media, with viewers replaying the confrontation and debating which side had handled the moment more effectively.
I started out at One America News with an 80-something-year-old male boss who called me a bimbo pretty freely. That was a different experience. I went to The Blaze and I worked for Glenn Beck, who I had to end up getting in a lawsuit with because he tried to fire me for saying I was pro-choice when I went on The View. So it's been a different experience at...
The debate quickly expanded far beyond The View. Fox News soon highlighted the exchange, with Greg Gutfeld making it a major topic on his program. Blending humor with criticism, he argued that focusing on Tomi Lahren's ancestry had ultimately strengthened rather than weakened her position. Gutfeld also pointed out the complexity of America's immigration history, joking that very few immigrant families arrived already speaking perfect English. His commentary spread rapidly online, and clips from Gutfeld gained millions of views, turning what started as a daytime television discussion into one of the week's most talked about political media stories.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions? Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses, regardless of skin color. People marry, they listen to each other, they have something in common with them, they share their political views. She just didn't want to upset her husband by saying her husband makes her do everything, and then she'd have to accuse him of being a racist. Because if he told her that this is what white women do, then he's a racist.
Although the cameras eventually stopped rolling, the conversation was only getting started online. Social media erupted almost instantly, with X, TikTok, and Instagram flooded by reaction videos, commentary, and endless debates over every detail of the exchange. Supporters argued that Tomi Lahren had successfully flipped the conversation in her favor, while others defended Sunny Hostin's comments as a legitimate discussion about privilege and America's immigration history. At the same time, memes, parody videos, and viral posts took over, with internet users even digging into Sunny's own family background, adding another layer to an already fast-moving online debate.
Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from Sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in Sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners from Europe. Here's how she took.
As the headlines multiplied, a broader issue began to emerge. The discussion gradually shifted away from immigration policy and became centered on who delivered the stronger television moment. Instead of focusing on border security, legal immigration, or asylum policy, much of the attention turned to viral one-liners, ancestry, and social media reactions. Critics argue that this change in focus overshadowed an issue that directly affects millions of people. They also contend that by making family history the centerpiece of the exchange, Sunny Hostin unintentionally reinforced the very argument Tomi Lahren was trying to make, leaving the policy discussion itself in the background.
Ow. I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah. So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting that my husband and I have shared roots.
In the hours that followed, Tomi Lahren let the moment speak for itself. Rather than fueling the controversy with emotional responses, she stayed measured while discussing the exchange in interviews, on social media, and across multiple media appearances. As clips spread online, reaction videos, podcasts, and commentary channels introduced the debate to millions more viewers. Regardless of political affiliation, many observers noted that she successfully turned a single television exchange into a much larger conversation about her broader message, with her calm approach becoming a major part of the story.
I have a question of my own. Do you lock your doors at home? At your residence, do you have a lock on your door? Do you use that lock?
I do. Yeah, I do.
You have an alarm?
And why is that? I mean, you lock your door. You lock your door because you want to know who's coming into your home. It's not because you hate the people outside. It's because you love the people inside. Well, that's what needs to be done with the United States of America. That's why we have a border. We have a right to know who's coming into our country and why. That's what keeps us.
Many viewers also wondered how the reaction might have changed if the roles had been reversed. If Tomi had centered the debate on Sunny Hostin's own family history, critics argue the public response could have been far more intense, potentially sparking widespread media coverage, social media campaigns, and criticism from advocacy groups. Whether or not that would have happened, the question fueled a broader discussion about consistency and whether the same tactics are judged differently depending on who uses them.
Why do you think you've resonated with so many people?
I think, in large part, I represent Middle America. So you've got the two coasts, and those individuals seem to kind of just talk to each other. And then you've got all of Middle America right there that's dying to have a voice. They don't really feel like they have one. They're not represented, beyond their communities. So I think they watch me and they say, well, she speaks like I do. She thinks like I do. She seems to maybe get it like I do. And I think that's why it's resonated. And also, I do something very different. There's not a whole lot of young conservative women out there. And so I provide that for a lot.
In many ways, the segment accomplished exactly what modern television rewards most. It captured attention. The exchange generated millions of views, dominated social media for days, and produced a viral clip that outlasted the original broadcast. Ironically, many people remember the ancestry debate far more clearly than the immigration policy discussion itself. That's the reality of today's media landscape, where one dramatic moment can easily overshadow an entire conversation.
Democrats really want to die on the hill of bringing back plane loads of criminal, illegal alien gang members.
But you haven't proven that they're criminals.
Please.
That's the problem.
Be my guest.
Honestly, look, I will be the first one to say if there is a...
So who ultimately gained the most from the exchange? It depends on how success is measured. Tomi Lahren expanded her reach with a widely shared response. Sunny Hostin found herself at the center of one of the week's biggest media debates. Gutfeld had another headline making topic for his audience, and ABC received significant public attention. Yet beneath all the viral clips and online arguments, the original discussion about immigration remained unresolved, overshadowed by a television moment that became bigger than the policy debate itself.